Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. The Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to Movie Film. It's episode 322, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. I'm Zachy Hazan. I'm here with Brian Hall.
Hey, how's it going, Zachy?
Hey, man. What's happening?
What's happening?
I was trying to avoid slipping into that cadence, but it is hard.
Hey, Peter, what's happening?
What's happening?
How you doing, man?
You know, I'm extremely chilled out right now. I'm feeling good, and I know that this is the part of the year that I get to be the most chilled out. So I'm just trying to savor it. You know, we're in the thick of summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we said this in our last episode that, like, for me, as the weeks tick by, I'm like, oh, fall semester is about to start. It's getting closer.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love doing what I do, but I also like having a little bit of a breather, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I didn't even realize that I was thinking about this, but yesterday, when you had mentioned, like, oh wow, summer is chugging by, I remember trying to make you feel better about it by saying, yeah, but I mean, it's July, but we're still in single digits.
Not anymore.
Yeah, and then yesterday, I think it was the 15th, and I was like, oh.
But that's okay. We got lots of stuff to watch.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of summer and things to watch, we wanted to share with everyone a look ahead at our schedule for the next couple of weeks. Between the two of us, we have some travel and some family visiting from out of town, but we wanted to make sure that there are things continuing to drop each week for you guys. So in order to do that, we're going to be dropping 2 commentaries in the next 2 weeks, both related to upcoming releases. First, we'll be covering Fantastic Four, the one from 2005 from 20th Century Fox. And the following week, we'll have a commentary for the original Naked Gun, which we haven't recorded that yet, but I'm already buzzing in my seat just thinking about doing that one with you. Then the first week of August, we'll be dropping a doubled up episode covering the new Fantastic Four movie from Marvel and the Naked Gun sequel, which is coming out soon. So that's what you can expect in your feeds or however you listen over the next couple of weeks.
I like it.
Yeah.
I am intrigued by your proposal, and I would like to subscribe to your newsletter.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, have you seen anything else?
Yeah. Well, I had mentioned, I think last regular episode, that I had started up the last season of Squid Game. I really enjoy it. I feel like digging a little bit online, I saw some people's enthusiasm waning a little bit with the series, and I kind of finished it out of obligation because there was only 6 episodes left. I wasn't feeling as much anticipation for it because I was like, well, I know what it is. I know I've enjoyed it, but is it going to be any different from what I've seen? But I'll do it anyway. I really enjoyed it. I think Squid Game's strength is its characters. I mean, obviously there's the crazy, like, it's almost like Saw, but with bright colors. You know what I mean? Like children's games, like Jump Rope becomes a deadly game in season 3. But what really keeps you going is I really care about a lot of these people and the things they're going through and the reasons that they're there. And there's people I really hate. There's people that are just such jerks, but they're such well-drawn jerks that they're interesting. And I'm really glad that I wrapped it up. It was interesting to see how they brought it to a conclusion. And I referenced the ending on accident. I didn't realize it was the ending because I was seeing it online. But one of the final scenes is they're in America because this takes place in Korea. And this was the last scene is they're in America and we see a recruiter for Squid Games in America, like recruiting people off the streets in Los Angeles. So either that's kind of a funny little ending, like the end of Back to the Future, where it's like, hey, something's got to be done about your kids. Hey, joke, and then it ends. Or maybe that is the literal setup for what apparently is going to be David Fincher's U.S. I don't know, remake, continuation, extension, whatever it's going to be of Squid Games. So, but it was kind of a funny, and it's Cate Blanchett plays the recruiter, which was, someone of her prestige. It was a little surprising seeing her.
Isn't she in the David Fincher one?
I don't know pretty much anything about it. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, she's worked with him before, right? Benjamin Button.
Oh, okay. I guess she's not in it.
Okay, yeah. But it makes me very curious. I mean,
why have an actor like her unless you plan to pull that thread later?
And that's kind of what I mean. Like, that's why it does work as a really fun, potent little stinger at the end. Like the Back to the Future thing, where it's just kind of a joke, and then you get like a real famous actor to play that person, and it makes it land even stronger. But I know I already talked about this, but I'm just so surprised with someone like David Fincher, whose voice feels so singular and unique, and that he would then devote so much time to kind of doing what we've seen already again.
Right.
And it wasn't this niche thing that only a few people were aware of, and then he's going to bring it to America. I mean, it's still in the top 10 in America weeks after its debut. So I don't know. I'm curious what he wants to bring to it or add to it, or I don't know. We'll see. And I'm sure I'll check it out.
I feel like he must have something to say,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have to imagine, right?
Right.
But yeah, I watched that, and then going way, way back, I watched for the first time Blood Simple, which is the Coen brothers' first movie.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I've mentioned this, but occasionally I listen to a podcast called Blank Check, and it's really good. They go through directors' filmographies in order, and they've just begun a series on the Coen brothers. And sometimes I use that podcast as an excuse to fill in gaps I have with certain directors that I like. And so they kicked it off with Blood Simple. So I was like, oh, I got to listen to that. And so let's check it out. Have you ever seen it?
I saw it probably in the 90s. I know I saw it at Columbia, so it was like either late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. Yeah. The late great M. Emmett Walsh.
Oh, so good in it.
National treasure, that guy.
Yeah, and Dan Hedaya. Frances McDormand's first movie. I was very delighted by this. I mean, it's just like a scrappy, promising film debut.
Yeah. It's like watching Evil Dead. And you're like, oh, this guy's gonna go places,
That's the thing, right? Because from the future, you're like, oh wow, whatever voice they honed and perfected along the way, you can absolutely see that voice in this movie.
Yeah.
And you can imagine back in 1984 watching it going, oh, I'm not just watching like some, little murder yarn. Like, these people are doing something interesting. They're doing something a little different. There's like a wicked sense of humor in here. I mean, just like the funny little absurdities that they have.
Right.
They're not as prominent in this, but there's like one or two things in here that you're like, oh gosh, there they are. That's the Coen brothers right there. And I mean, it has the perfect final line from Emmett Walsh that's just so dark and funny and like ironic and just very Coen-y. So yeah, it's a little rough around the edges, but it's like 90 minutes. It's a tale about people who are bad at crime. Which is very Coen-y. And I think for people who love the Coen brothers and who haven't seen this, I think it's worth checking out just as an awesome artifact of their work. I'm sure a lot of people are like, duh, Brian.
No, but I have a feeling a lot of people listening have not seen it. So you might just be the nudge that prompts people to check it out.
I think if you're a fan of the Coen brothers, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
And then finally, going back again, I rewatched a movie called Matchstick Men.
Yeah, Ridley Scott.
And I want to say 2003. And this movie has always had like a nice little personal spot in my heart.
I know. I remember you talking about it quite often.
Yeah, and the reason being, I wasn't much of a reader in high school. And then when I graduated and it wasn't sort of forced on me in school, I just was interested to like find a book that I wanted to. Well, I've said this before. I love the John Grisham books. I liked reading what I wanted to read.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, somehow I was aware of this book, Matchstick Men. And then I learned that it was going to become a Nicolas Cage movie, Ridley Scott. And I thought, oh, well, that'd be fun to read it and then see the movie and compare it. And that I got it from the library, and it just kicked off this reading streak for me. Mm-hmm. So I have very fond memories of that book, and I really liked the book a lot. And then when I saw the movie, I thought it was a great interpretation of the book. And so anyway, I've been on a real reading streak again recently, and it made me think, I'd love to go back and revisit Matchstick Men, because I remember loving that like over 20 years ago. And so I reread it, enjoyed it all over again, and thought, well, let's revisit the movie. And I mean, I'm telling you, this is just like a really underseen gem.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, Ridley Scott doing something a little bit different. Usually he does these real epic movies, Gladiator and huge special effect, historical spectacles. And this is just like a little character yarn. And the characters are very interesting. The performances are incredible. I think it's one of Nicolas Cage's best performances.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Sam Rockwell is just effortlessly fun and watchable in this. Alison Lohman, who hasn't been doing a lot lately, but she is just perfection in this for the character she's playing. And I just wanted to shine a little light on it, because it's just just this forgotten little gem from Ridley Scott that I think people might enjoy. It's just a little character yarn. And but something else I wanted to mention was, I had the DVD from back in the day. Mm-hmm. And so I saw that it had these bonus features, and I was like, oh, let's just, see what this is all about. And there is a 90-minute behind the scenes documentary about the making of this movie. That's literally 3 acts. It's pre-production, production, and post-production.
Okay.
And I mean, this is like real fly on the wall, nitty gritty stuff. Like, you actually see the AD get into a fight with the sound guy.
Wow.
Yeah, because the sound guy wants to get into the trunk of a car to get the best audio, but the AD wasn't informed. And he's like, that's not safe. And you're going to make Nick nervous. And they're like filming all of this, including it in the documentary. And then there's a moment like Ridley, seems like pretty chill in his later years, but there's a moment where a camera jams and he gets all pissed off. And Rockwell like walks off just to collect himself, because he knows he just delivered an amazing scene that is like lost. And then there was another thing, because it reminded me of my days working on feature films and just that exciting but sort of nervous energy you have being in the offices with these, sort of sometimes titanic figures you're working with. And you can see the costume designer with Alison Lohman, and he needs to keep showing different costumes to Ridley Scott, but Ridley Scott's busy. And you see that sort of awkward thing where they're hanging around in a doorway waiting for the right moment to come in and show it to Ridley. And it just brought me back to that feeling of being in production offices.
Right.
And I thought, wow, you just do not see, well, bonus features hardly at all anymore, but anything like this naked and just honest. And I don't know, it just made me pine for those, golden years of DVD bonus features.
We didn't know how good we had it.
Yeah. I mean, that used to be a selling point for me. A movie that I might not buy necessarily on its own, but if it was a movie I liked, but it had a wealth of features, I knew that I would enjoy digging into that. I would enjoy listening to the commentary. I would watch this 90-minute behind the scenes thing, because I mean, it's kind of like a nice little film school. They get into the post-production on Matchstick Men, and they screen it, and the test screening, it doesn't go great.
Right.
And they're honest about it, and they show Ridley talking about it, and then they show the problem solving, and they literally solve it by reshooting a scene, but all they do is add 3 lines. They go to this location, add 3 lines, and I guess Warner Brothers, they showed up. They started rolling at 11. They wrapped at 11:20, and Warner Brothers called and was like, "What? Like, we spent all this money. We got this location. You only shot for 20 minutes. Shoot more." And they're honest about all that. And I found it very. like I said, it made me nostalgic for my days working on sets like that. And also, I think for people who are interested in filmmaking, something like this would be really valuable. I wish they did more things like this still.
Yeah, there was that period. It was about a 5-year period, from 98 to 2003 or thereabouts, where DVDs were being purchased by just normies, right?
Yeah. Not like just film obsessives, but like it was common to go into someone who you didn't even think of it as a movie person, and they had a DVD collection.
Yeah, so even if we want to push it to like the mid-aughts, basically, and you would just have these DVDs that were just overflowing with a rich behind-the-scenes chronicle, and you started to see them chipping away at that once the market just didn't justify it, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are now. But for that window, we were kings, Brian. We were damn hell ass kings.
I was literally thinking that because of you.
But like now, see, here's the thing. Bonus features have not gone away. They have just become the province of boutique, DVD companies.
Certainly that. I would also say two things. I would say if there are any on a more major, less boutique-y release, but on a major, Warner Brothers release, they're a little more curated, right?
Yeah,
like, I mean,
sucks.
you have the classic example where you have the DVD commentary with Ben Affleck poking holes in the plot of Armageddon.
That's
Right.
right.
Like, this doesn't make any sense. And you would never have that now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's true.
But yeah, of course you have, I think Arrow and Criterion and all these people and
Shout Factory, Kino Lorber. There's some good companies out there doing stuff. So
yeah, and they're like digging into archives and finding, never before released deleted scenes and things. So yeah, you're right. It's still out there, but you have to maybe pay a little bit extra for that sort of thing from a specialty company.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, there we go, folks. So dig into your used, go to your Rasputin Records or whatever, see if you can find the Matchstick Men DVD.
Yeah.
Per Brian's rec.
Yeah. And then one more thing, because I'm very curious what you've been watching, but I thought I'd throw this out there. This was just a random text conversation we were having yesterday, but I saw apparently Jurassic Park Rebirth is coming out on digital streaming.
Jurassic World Rebirth. Thank you.
Oh, did I say? I still can't do it. Jurassic World Rebirth. Let's just call it Jurassic 7.
There you go.
I was at the movies last night, actually, and for some reason they showed the Jurassic World Rebirth trailer, even though it's been out for weeks.
Oh,
and the guy behind me sarcastically, he's like, Jurassic 25? I was like, damn. Anyway, but Jurassic World 7, whatever. That doesn't make sense. Whatever. It's the one with Scarlett Johansson is coming out digital streaming August 5th.
Yes.
Which blew my freaking mind because it's still in the top 3 box office.
Yeah.
It just came out. And I was telling you, isn't that crazy? So out of curiosity, I went to Google and was like, how long did it take for Jurassic Park 1 in 1993 to come out on VHS? Because I remember the day it came out, like anticipating it, having my allowance money, going to Suncoast Video and buying that VHS cassette. I remember that. And it turns out it was 16 months after the theatrical release that the VHS release came out. 16 months, over a year we had to wait for that movie to be in our homes.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is like not new news, but it's just, I don't know. Even now with Megan 2.0, which did not perform, unsurprisingly, that is now streaming already. It's streaming right now. But Jurassic 7, which was a huge hit, remains a huge hit, streaming in like a week or two. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, so I have two thoughts on this. My first thought is that I agree with you. In that, geez, just like let it breathe,
Mm-hmm.
The other thought I have though is you have to imagine the Universal folks are aware that it's still making money in the theaters, right?
Sure.
And I'm sure their calculus is, look, we mark these things up on initial release on digital to the tune of like $30+, right?
Right.
So they're probably like, if people don't want to go to the theater, but they're willing to pay $30,
Yeah.
that we keep most of,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to splitting the take with the theater, like, why not?
And realistically, most people who are going to see it in the theater have already seen it.
Right.
So maybe it is pretty
And again, if you got folks who are willing to pay that, they are either bound and determined not to go to the theater,
yes,
or they've already seen it in the theater and they just really want to watch it at home.
right, or they're unable. I have a friend who has
Sure.
a newborn, and she was like, Sinners just debuted on HBO, and she was really excited. She finally got to see it.
Right.
She can't get out of the house, so
there's
for her
that.
now she can finally see Jurassic 7.
So we've managed to talk ourselves straight.
Yeah, I know. Thank you for walking me through that.
But I'm thinking because we know that there are movies that continue to play in theaters and do pretty well while they are available for streaming.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my only thought. I'm sure the money people at Universal have thought this through.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. And I guess I got an opportunity to be a bit of an old man and reminisce about how long I had to wait. to see the
Back
movie
in
I
our
wanted to
day.
see again. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that Jurassic Park, for however long it took, was still a pittance compared to how long it took E.T. to come to home video.
Oh, years and years. Yeah.
Exactly. So, these things, time leaves us behind. I guess that's the takeaway.
Yeah. I might be wrong, but I think that movie came out in 1982. I want to say the VHS was 1989.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, that's pretty wild.
Well, real quickly, I'll mention there is a new Smurfs coming to theaters.
Are you smurfing kidding me?
Indeed, I am not. I am not Smurfing kidding.
I smurf you not.
I'm trying to see how many Smurf puns I can do. You know what I'm going to say is that there are 3 previous Smurfs movies. They were released by Sony between 2011 and 2017, and this is by Paramount, and it is better than those 3.
Oh, okay.
Now, I want to emphasize that says more about the bar than the leap.
Sure.
But it wasn't bad, I would say. I was mostly charmed by it.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't change my life, but I enjoyed the animation. Everybody's doing the Spider-Verse thing, which is kind of baked in now. But I like how the character designs looked like the 1980s cartoon.
Yeah.
And they weren't trying to make it all like 3D looking.
Sure.
In a way that I found distracting, like the earlier movies with Neil Patrick Harris and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Rihanna is Smurfette.
That's right. I saw the trailer last night, actually.
Yeah, I mean she gets top billing. It's like Rihanna in Smurfs. That's
right.
That's the marketing. She's fine. James Corden is the lead character, and I don't know if this is a controversial take, but I'm just gonna put this out there. I think a little James Corden goes a long way.
Well, what's funny is, like I said, I just saw the trailer less than 12 hours ago. I remember so many more names and voices than his. Like, are they sort of keeping him out of the trailers? Because there's Nick Offerman and John Goodman, and
and they're both great.
Mm-hmm.
You got Kurt Russell as a Smurf.
Really?
And the Smurf looks like what you'd expect when you hear that Kurt Russell is playing a Smurf.
Does he ever go like, "Oh hell"?
I wish he did now. So again, I'm not saying anybody should rush out and see it. I'm saying if your kids twist your arm, there's probably worse ways to spend 90 minutes than watching this. I think the kids will enjoy it, and I was mostly entertained.
All right. Well, so is it? Does it do that thing where it's entertaining for kids, but there's also stuff in there for the parents?
I chuckled a few times, I would say. Yeah. Maybe this is just because I've been beaten into submission by those previous ones that I had to watch, and I didn't like it all.
What's the difference?
The approach is a little different. This is it's directed by the guy who did Puss in Boots, the first one.
Oh, okay.
And the writer she's like a South Park vet. So there's an attempt to be a little bit more pop culture-y,
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's weird. I don't want to raise the bar too high. I'm just saying it's not as bad as the other ones. So that's where I'm at with Smurfs.
Paramount has chosen mercy.
Yeah, it's not as good as like Ninja Turtles a couple summers ago, where
Sure.
that one was really kind of swinging for something. Kind of wish they would have done that more.
Sure.
But I didn't mind it for what it was.
All right, well, good. Good.
Like where were you at with the Smurfs in the 80s? Did you watch the cartoon?
No.
Really?
They were an hour long.
They were. That's true.
And I remember kind of bopping around them. Like when they came on, I kind of flipped over. I was a very Muppet Babies. I don't know.
Which was also an
Inspector
hour
Gadget,
long, by the way.
He-Man. Yeah, it's funny now that you say that, but I loved it. That show was so offbeat, though, right? Like they would
Muppet Babies?
Yeah, they would show clips from Star Wars and horror movies and all sorts, and they would incorporate themselves into it. Maybe there was something about that was really appealing to me, like the movie pop culture-y aspect of it.
I hear you.
Yeah. What about you?
I don't think I was ever like, oh, Smurfs is on.
Mm-hmm.
Stop what we're doing. I think it was like, oh, Smurfs is on, and this is back before we had the clicker, so it's like, well, I can get up and change the channel, or I can just settle in and watch, 1 hour of grumpy Smurf or grouchy Smurf saying he hates stuff, and vanity Smurf looking in the mirror, and hefty Smurf lifting stuff up, I guess.
Yeah, it was that, and I remember when the Littles would come on, I was like, all right.
I did not like the Littles.
Yeah, same, and I can't remember why, but those are the ones I remember when they would start. Either I would flip the channel or I would get up and do something else.
Yeah, man, I miss Saturday morning cartoons,
When we really think about it, there were so many options, really.
I know.
I mean, you did have the 3 networks you could toggle, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they were all showing stuff for a couple of hours. So there was a real variety. And you found like your little, your little path that you would take every Saturday. Like, 10, or like 9, I go to channel 2, and then 9:30, I go to Fox 32. And then, Yeah.
See, what you realize is, because, you had NBC, ABC, CBS, and then Fox came in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just catering to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It wasn't about them grown-ups.
Well, I remember, and I guess this is kind of a weekday afternoon, but that was on Saturday mornings as well. But Tiny Toons, I remember really loving, because they would make jokes about Tim Burton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he would be a character in there. Yeah. And I was 10 or 11 or something, but I knew who Tim Burton was. And so it felt like, wow, they're really like unafraid to make jokes that speak directly to me, but might not speak to every 10-year-old.
I remember on Tiny Toons. I remember on Tiny Toons they made a joke about Sean Young harassing Tim Burton while dressed as Catwoman.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was 12, and I was like Captain America. I get that reference.
Yeah.
I think we both agree it's kind of mean spirited now. Like
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't do it now, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean that whole era, like. What you realize, it's like Death by a Thousand Paper Cuts. Like, little did we know when Saved by the Bell premiered that was the thing that would eventually lead NBC to just get rid of Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, that's true.
Because then they just did all of them shows, like
live action high school teen show. Yeah.
City Guys, and
there's a basketball one too, right?
Hang Time. Why do I know this? Why do I know this, Brian?
Yeah, California Dreams. I think you said it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But isn't it kind of amazing how long Saved by the Bell has lived on?
Yes. Well, none of the other ones have, really.
Yeah. I mean, there was I don't know, you call it a remake, but like a sequel series.
And it was good. It was on Peacock.
Yeah, and those reruns are still on, and I know people show them to their kids now, and their kids still enjoy it. It's just, back then, I'm sure parents were like, what is this stupid show? But like, who knew? 30 plus years later, it lives on.
Who'da thunk?
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of who'da thunk, we got all these letters in the mailbox.
Mail call!
I believe you have a letter for me.
18,000 letters, all addressed to Santa Claus.
right, so here we go. This is a comment we got on YouTube with regards to our last episode about Jurassic World Rebirth.
Okay.
And this is from Luke Smale, who says, I have mixed feelings about the 4D experience. For me, it really does depend on the film and my familiarity with the movie. I think this is what you were talking about, where what did you see?
I saw F1.
F1.
And I didn't love it.
Not
in
not
4DX. I like the movie. I did not like the 4DX experience.
He says, I saw Creed 3 for the first time in 4D and really didn't enjoy it because I found it very distracting. They just have people punching you in the face.
There literally is a bar in the back of the seat that punches you in the back.
Yeah. Not that doesn't sound appealing to me. It says, on the other hand, in April, I saw Revenge of the Sith in 4D for the re-release and had a great time because I was too familiar with the movie, so it added something to the experience.
Interesting.
However, my friend who hadn't seen the movie since 2009 found it totally distracting and not enjoyable. I think if you get seasick, Jaws probably wouldn't be the best in 4D. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Plus, I really don't want to smell Quint's shack. No offense to the late Robert Shaw. Congratulations on finally getting through Andor, Brian.
Thank you.
My fave show of the year so far. Remember when it was announced and a lot of Star Wars fans were like, why would you make that into a show? There was definitely a lot of that. Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know if I was among them, but I definitely remember that feeling. Interesting to see just how quickly the reputation of a film or TV project can change from positive to negative and vice versa. Game of Thrones, anyone? And I'm Australian too, so there are 2 Australians that listen to you at least.
Hey, amazing.
Hey, we welcome all of Australia.
Yeah, I love knowing that.
Yeah, you're a Game of Thrones guy, right? Or you were?
I was. Yeah. I didn't read the books or anything, but I just followed the series. And yeah, I mean, I wasn't like passionate about it. There'd be certain characters where I'm like, wait, who's that again? Kind of a thing. But I did enjoy it and I watched the whole thing. But yeah, it definitely, had a steep decline in quality. I think from what I understand, it kind of happened once the showrunners didn't have the books to follow anymore and people didn't love all the decisions they were making and characters started behaving in ways that felt a little out of character. And yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, it was a phenomenon and it's amazing that now its legacy is like, oh yeah, that's that show that just fell apart.
Well, it feels like within minutes of the series finale airing, people were burning their Game of Thrones fan club membership cards,
Right. Their little pennants.
Yeah. It happened pretty fast. And honestly, this House of the Dragon, I mean, I it seems like there was a little bit of buzz surrounding it, but I don't get the sense that the fan base is quite as passionate. I could be wrong.
I haven't watched it. I sort of feel like I did it.
You did your time.
I did my time in that universe a little bit. But yeah, it seems like people like it well enough, but I don't know that it's become the phenomenon.
Yeah.
That the original. But I do want to say I was talking about 4DX with my friend last night who got us the F1 4DX tickets.
Yeah.
And I was telling him that I didn't really love it. I felt kind of bad because it was his idea. And he was a little surprised. And I was like, here's the thing. And Luke Smale 24, I kind of have a similar feeling. I enjoyed Twister. They put 1996's Twister in 4DX, which I'm very familiar with. And I really enjoyed that experience. That was probably my favorite 4DX experience. But I do also think it was perfectly utilized. You did feel wind come through the theater. That was really fun. It did rain on you, but it's raining in the movie. So that was kind of, you're in for a little bit of a roller coaster ride with the weather. And it did shake me, but it wasn't aggressive. It felt appropriate. And so I don't know. It's partially maybe a movie I was already familiar with. So I wasn't as concerned about being distracted. And also I just feel like it was programmed very well. But with F1, I was telling my friend last night, I would have preferred in the driving scenes, I would preferred if they had just kind of buzzed a little bit, the seats, like you're in a fast moving car, and then maybe slanted right and slanted left and slanted right. But instead, I mean, it really did feel like they were just shaking all over the place and trying to make you fall out of the chair. And that's not what it feels like being in a car.
Yeah, right.
And if you hadn't seen the movie before, well, you're not looking at the screen anymore. You're concentrating on not spilling your drink or, making sure there are no seatbelts, but you're like holding on to your chair. So it could have been a combination of just, I didn't like the way that those motions were programmed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a movie I don't know as well. So I do want to pay attention to the screen.
Right.
So,
well, yeah, I'll be circumspect about whether I choose to partake in the 4DX based on what you said.
Yeah.
Here's another comment we got on YouTube. This is from LayGen208, this is with regards to our Superman Returns commentary, which we just dropped last week. Feeling so spoiled with all of the content. Ooh, Parker Posey as Lois. Nice call. I think Brandon Routh was a good Clark after Christopher Reeve until Tyler Hoechlin, who was a great Superman and Clark. And I will just say, you're goddamn right.
I know, he's your guy.
Anytime I can hype up Superman and Lois, I will take that opportunity because it's a damn good show that people should check out.
Yeah.
Here's Rob Kelly, who left a comment on Facebook. Again, this is with regards to Superman Returns. He says, show me on the remaindered Superman Returns action figures where this movie touched you guys.
No. Oh, no. Sorry, Rob.
Kidding aside, while I like this movie more than you guys obviously do, I can't really argue with anything you said. Superman Returns is deeply flawed, and I've always regarded it as a pretty great execution of a bunch of bad ideas that should never have made it into a finished screenplay. Superman being gone for 5 years to go on a very selfish mission, Superman as a deadbeat dad, a superpowered kid who murders someone, giving Lois a likable husband so we have no real reason for her to get back with Superman. No. Again, no.
Right.
And great row. Do I hate the one dog ate the other dog joke. Right. WTF is that doing in a Superman movie?
Right.
Thanks for another fun commentary, even if it was more acidic than usual. Gee, I didn't realize we were acidic.
There was a point where I realized everything we were saying was negative.
Yeah.
And so I remember trying to be like, okay, I do want to at least call out the things that I enjoy.
As few and far between as they might have been.
But, I think Rob makes a great point because he leans positive on this while still calling out the same things as negatives. So we felt that those things were negatives also, but we just sort of leaned a little bit negative.
Yeah, if I might add, one thing that occurs to me now is that we recorded that commentary within, like 12 hours of me having watched the new film. And maybe this is tipping my head a little bit, but I have a feeling that may have impacted slightly my opinion of the movie that you and I were watching.
I can imagine that, yeah.
Here's a note we got from David Gutierrez, who says, years ago at Comic-Con, Bryan Singer showed some very early footage from Superman Returns, mostly of young Clark. Do with that as you will. He said the movie was about old boyfriends coming back, which clearly muddied the movie. As to your comments on the film's look, Singer said he was basing the look of the film on classic movies like Rebecca, so that may contribute to the film's fuzzy look. Now for the rumors. The bank robber scene was added because there wasn't enough action in the film. I can't remember what else was added, but I do remember there was one additional sequence that was added much later too. Also, a VFX friend of mine told me there was a VFX artist on Wang duty. Their job was to shave down the crotch area. I'm assuming of Brandon Routh's costume. Imagine showing up to work each day for that. Great commentary. I took the day off to see this movie, and I remember thinking maybe a day at work wouldn't be so bad. David, Rob's going to have some words for you.
Right.
Also, this is the first time I saw a device distracting me from a film. This lady rose in front of me, kept checking her BlackBerry, so my eyes kept getting drawn to it. It was the beginning of a thing I hate to this day.
Wow, that's so funny that he remembers that. Actually, I remember that with Avatar.
Oh, wow.
That was one of the first times I had to tell someone. You know what it was? It was because he had it on his... Remember some people had like holsters for their phones?
Oh my God.
His was on a holster and it was facing me and it kept lighting up.
Oh my God.
And I remember I had to lean over. I was like, sir. And he was actually kind of cool about it. You never know what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Wang Duty.
Hey,
that'd be a good band name.
Wang Duty. Weighing duty, playing at Coachella.
Yeah.
Here's a note we got from Jeffrey Meisner, and this was on our Patreon, and he says, I had a thought connected to the topic of Fox News' repeat cycle of complaining about Superman. I wanted to share because it drives me crazy. Anytime Superman is in the news, Fox brings out Dean Cain, who loves to proclaim how back in his Superman days, he was proud to say he fought for the American way. Here's the ironic thing that I desperately wish someone would point out to him. He never said it. Second episode of his series had the first Lois interviews Superman scene, and he said he's here to help. She presses him for a better quote, like, what if you were here to fight for truth and justice? And Superman says, truth and justice sounds good. You can use that.
Well, I'll be damned.
I have a soft spot for Lois and Clark. Me too, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I think you do too, Brian.
Oh, yeah, I watched it back in the day.
Yeah, and I've met Dean at cons, and he's been very nice to me and my family. I don't like to sound like I'm bashing him, but I strongly disagree with his politics, and I don't stand for trying to rewrite history, especially to gatekeep Superman. Gatekeeping is like trying to drag the characters you love onto the ground with you instead of celebrating that these stories will continue with future generations. I want my kids to love Superman. I want everyone's kids to love Superman.
I love that note. That's a very well articulated and expressed note.
I could not agree more.
Yep.
And with that, why don't we take a short break and then we can talk about Superman.
And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
And we are back, and you know who else is back, Brian?
Who's that, Zachy?
Why, it's Cub reporter and noted ladies man Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, he's so fine.
And of course, his best pal Superman.
Oh yeah, that guy.
That guy too. Superman is in theaters right now, and it is doing okay at the box office.
Doing pretty well around the world, right?
Yeah, it's looking like there is. Based on the most recent, I'm trying to have the absolute most recent box office information. It made 125 million at the domestic box office, and then another 95 or so worldwide, or not including North America.
Mm-hmm.
So doing okay. More interesting to me is that the day-to-day holds have been pretty decent, which shows that word of mouth seems to be pretty good. As we record that, we're recording this on a Wednesday, and it has the biggest Tuesday of 2025.
Wow.
So that's something.
Yeah.
It's eyeing $55 million for its second weekend. So all of that is to say, it opened pretty decently. Word of mouth seems to be good. So it seems to be on track to do all right. Now, I would imagine that there's some folks who are invested in a prior iteration of this character who are maybe, trying to find every reason to say it's a flop.
Well, yeah, that's going to be difficult. I mean, I can understand having a preference for sure, but
yeah,
trying to prove that this one isn't performing, I think it's going to be a little difficult.
I think it's at least doing all right. And the thought I had was, I would imagine that what Warner Brothers is looking for is not something that breaks $1 billion, but that does well enough, not only at the box office, but in terms of public perception to warrant continuing. And I think that was the dilemma they had vis-a-vis Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're looking at this from a Batman Begins perspective, I think they're probably in good shape.
I mentioned I was at the movies last night seeing something else. It was a Tuesday night, just a random middle of the week Tuesday night thing. And in the lobby, I saw a mom and her 2 kids, and the mom was wearing a Superman cape. So, I mean, yeah, speaking of like getting the public back, in love with Superman and ready to show up for him over the next couple of years, I think they did it.
They may have. So obviously this was a big gamble because James Gunn, when he came in and became head of DC in late 2022, he essentially was like, we're just going to broom everything and start over, which basically meant every single movie that they had lined up for 2023 flopped.
Yeah.
And so really it was like, okay, well, it's put up or shut up time.
Mm-hmm.
promising start. I will, whatever, dude. I'm just gonna put it out there. I've seen this twice now. I love this movie. I love it so much.
Me too. I've seen it twice also now, and I want to see it again.
I last night I took my I took my kids, and I took my nieces, all of my brother's daughters, and they know that I've been like a Superman nut for a long time now. And as we left, one of them was like, "I get it now."
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, that's all right.
Yeah. Well, what's so interesting too is, I mean, when James Gunn said he's going to make a Superman movie, I didn't exactly know what to expect. Is he going to make a James Gunn movie, or is James Gunn going to contort himself a little bit away from the little trauma weirdo he is at heart and just sort of not cosplay, but just sort of be like, I'm going to make what I think a Superman movie is the best that I can. And the answer is he made a James Gunn movie.
Yeah.
That's also firmly and delightfully a Superman movie. Like, it is a funny combination of all the above.
Yeah.
And it's been really cool seeing how much people have been enjoying that take.
Yeah.
Right? It's mostly what I've been seeing. I went with some people, and I thought at least one person was not going to like it because of the very comic booky-ness of it. Like the Superman having robots and kaijus in the street, and because he's used to, the Christopher Reeve one, and maybe he wants something that feels a little bit more traditional and old school feeling. And he was the one I think liked it most of anybody.
Wow. Okay.
Which I was like, wow. Okay.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's get into it. What are the things that worked for us?
Yeah, well, and real quick, before I forget, something you just said that I do want to comment on. Can you imagine the pressure James Gunn was feeling?
Oh, sure.
He appears calm and collected when he speaks on social media or does his interviews or whatever. But he wiped everything off the board.
Yeah.
And was like, I'm going to start from scratch with, the big tuna, with the big guy here, Superman. And everything's riding on this being accepted and liked for my plans for like the next 10 years and beyond. I mean, I can't even imagine then sitting at my laptop and being like, the pressure,
Yeah. Well, and the thought I had is, right, like, because at the moment he came in, he could have been like, all right, well, these are the pieces in play right now. Let me see if I can sort of adjust course working with what I have.
Yeah.
Right, because my sense is that whether people liked or disliked the movies he was in, there was a general sense that Henry Cavill was liked in the role.
Yeah, I hear that from everybody.
Right.
Whether or not they even love those movies, they're like, he is a great Superman.
Like he if there's a problem, he was not the problem.
Right.
And so one supposes he at least considered that as a possibility. Right. But he made the calculus that whatever he needed to do required a clean start, and whatever he wanted to do, it was worth the risk of getting rid of a well-liked. The analogy I make is when the Broccoli's, back when they were in charge of the Bond franchise, after Die Another Day, which was very successful, they wanted a reset, and the reset they required meant getting rid of the James Bond that was very well liked in that role, Pierce Brosnan, right? And they gambled that what they had planned would win people over, and people would realize it was worth it.
Right.
You know what I mean? With Casino Royale.
Yeah, it's bold.
It's a big swing, and this is a comparable swing, not only in terms of recasting and everything else, but the entire approach to the character. And I want to be very clear: this is not meant as a criticism of Man of Steel, a movie that I do like, but it is a reflection of how James Gunn saw the character. And what you realize is his vision was not compatible with with that prior version of the character.
Yeah, totally.
So I personally, this is the only point I'm making, I like that he did that. I like that he cut the cord and he lets that version stand on its own.
Yeah.
Rather than try to turn it into something that Zack Snyder would not have wanted. it stands there. It is that is a trilogy, and then now we got this new thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree with all that.
You know, but go on.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's just get to the heart of it. I love this Superman.
Yeah,
I love this take. David Corenswet, the way I think he's great. I think he looks like Superman, all those things. But what I really love is that I've liked all the takes for different reasons. But what I think is interesting is that he still feels like Superman, but he also feels a little different, a little maybe even like more nuanced in interesting ways, because we've had Supermen that are a little brooding, we've had Supermen that are kind of stoic and almost like holy, like the Boy Scout kind of takes, which they all work in their respective films. But I like seeing a new version of Superman who gets irritated. Right?
Yeah.
And he's like kind of a dork. And but he's also truly sweet and wants to be a good person.
Yeah.
Like, so all those things are still in there. He really is, he has a humongous beating heart and loves humanity, but he's also a human being. And when he gets pressed, he might get a little annoyed.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he's getting annoyed trying to defend something that he feels is right. I think when those trailers first came out where you see the interview between Lois and Clark / Superman, he's getting irritated. I was like, well, that's an interesting choice when we haven't seen the film yet. But when you see that scene in the movie, it's an incredible scene.
Yeah.
Right. And it really helps you to understand who this version of Superman is. And I really love this version.
Not just who this version of Superman is, it helps us get a clear sense right away of who this version of Lois Lane is.
Yeah, sure.
David Corenswet is fantastic. I think he's a star after this movie. First of all, a little bit of a Brendan Fraser vibe.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I can see that.
Which I loved, and I find it appropriate because, like, back in the early aughts, he was somebody who was being at least linked to the role, but kind of the aw shucks energy. I think he says like, "What the hey?" and Gotham, which I
when the dog is chomping at his
I love that stuff.
What the hey, dude?
Yeah, this is Superman who says, "Dude,"
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of interesting choices that James Gunn made. Okay, number one, right off the top, we skip the origin.
Yeah.
And good. I'm glad because we don't need it. Everybody knows it. It's cultural shorthand. And I love that. And this is not a spoiler because it's in the trailer. The first sight that we have of Superman is mere minutes after he got his ass kicked hard.
Right.
And I think that's a very interesting choice, right? Because this is the whole critique people have about Superman. Oh, he's too overpowered and he's not relatable. And here's a guy who's gasping for air, and right away you lean forward a little bit. You're like, man, how'd this happen? Right? And so our first introduction to him is as somebody who is vulnerable, right? And I think it's a perfect way to segue us into this this universe. I also love, actually, before that even is the little text exposition dump that we get. Where it's like 3 centuries ago, metahumans showed up, 30 years ago, Superman landed, et cetera, et cetera. And what it's doing is just laying out what we need to know for this universe while dropping us into the middle of it.
Yep.
What Gunn does with this film is very interesting because he pulls from all these different iterations of Superman. And this is the thing. People are like, oh, this is not in character. That's not in of like every version. They'll be like, oh, that's not like Superman would never do this or whatever. And it's like there are so many versions.
Right.
You can't say that because there are so many versions.
Right.
And he has the good fortune of just being able to be like, I'm going to take this from this. I'm going to take this from that. This movie is just this cornucopia of aspects pulled from the Silver Age, from the modern age, from the John Byrne reboot, from the Christopher Reeve movies, from Man of Steel. Even we get pieces of it all in this kind of this Gestalt reimagining.
Yep.
And it all fits together, at least for me, in a way where the most important thing it does is it centers Superman as somebody who we not only do we admire in the film, but he presents a model of heroism that is aspirational. And
Absolutely.
this is something,
Yep.
right? We talk about this all the time. Like when characters make the decent choice, the harder choice, but they do it, and it demonstrates their morality.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie is just chock-a-block full of that.
I know. I agree with everything you just said, and I love, like you said, from all the iterations, all his good qualities, all his qualities you might not expect from Superman. You see them all here. He's very three-dimensional, but at his core, he is like always trying to do the decent thing.
Yeah,
and he's a good person, and you really, really get that sense. And Corenswet really exudes that, like he really brings that to life. And I mean, I love the little things that happen here that give us senses of his character too, or what type of Superman he is. I mean, there's like big battles happening in the city where people are focusing on, well, we got to take this. I mean, it's in the trailer, the big monster, and it's like, well, you got to take this big monster out, like no matter the cost, and it's bumping into buildings and things are falling. And while everyone's focusing on the monster up above, Superman's like, guys, be careful. There's people down there. He's always thinking about his surroundings. He's always thinking about the people.
Not just that. He's like, don't hurt it.
Yeah, well, that too. Yes. Yeah. They're like trying to kill it. He's like, maybe we could put it in an intergalactic zoo.
Right.
Yeah. I love it. When he and he even is trying to protect a building at one point because it's going to fall or lean on a building, and he holds it back. Like he's just so conscious of everything, and he just cares so much. Like I was just beaming, smiling. I just love this guy.
There is a moment with regards to that that big kaiju where again he's trying to spare it as well, and you have the other character. Essentially, something happens that results in it. He's not able to do that, and the look on his face, he's like, he didn't want that either.
Yep.
And it's the thesis of the movie is exactly that. I mean, it's maybe being nice is punk rock.
Yeah.
And that can be cheesy, I suppose. I don't doubt there will be X percentage of people watch this who are like, yeah, that's so lame,
Yeah, sure.
But I honestly feel like we're at a cultural moment where we really want this. We need that.
I agree with that. And we've talked about that a lot, like certain movies that come out after The Dark Knight, and then you just, in Bond was, the same year, I think, right? As Begins or something, but it's like in this kind of post 9/11 thing where it's like, let's be a little less fantastical and be like, how would these normally superheroic people behave in a world that's just a little grimmer and a little grittier and a little bit more like ours? And we got that for a little bit, but then it's it's a wave you ride, and then we get that for a while, and that's interesting, but then there's a moment where I want to feel like everything's a little lighter and a little more fun and fanciful, and there's whimsy, and that's what I'm feeling right now. I want that, and I think that's maybe why I really connected with what this movie was doing.
Yeah, the stuff that had to happen here in terms of setting up this broader universe, what I really like is that I mean, there's stuff that we can imagine are like, there's threads that will be pulled on later, but I think Gunn to some extent looked at the first Iron Man.
Sure.
Which of course he did, right? In terms of creating a story that's fairly self-contained. And he really focused in on, look, let's just create something that's compelling. And that'll be the thing that makes people want to come back.
Right.
I think all of the stuff with the Daily Planet, that was something I really liked. I wanted more of that, to be honest.
Yeah, it was fun seeing their camaraderie at work.
Yeah,
their interplay.
I wanted more of Wendell Pierce as Perry White.
Me too. I was thinking of Frank Langella, actually. It's kind of the same thing where you cast someone really interesting and you want to see them do their thing, but they don't really get an opportunity to do much, and you mostly remember them because they are played by someone you find interesting.
That's right. In fact, if there was one thing that did disappoint me, it's that we only get one scene with Clark Kent as reporter Clark Kent.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
Just the one near the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
I wanted more of that, but one presumes that's something that they can do in a sequel. I mentioned this at the start of our conversation. Jimmy Olsen's a freaking rock star in this movie, man.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, this is like the best Jimmy Olsen we've ever had.
Yeah.
Skylar Gisondo. Because this is the thing from the comics, is that he's not like a dork. He's like this cool guy.
Mm.
And I love that they actually kept that in. And he gets some very funny moments.
Totally, yeah.
There's a funny bit where he meets the Eve character, off the grid. and there's this very long pause before he's like, yeah. I busted out laughing both times.
Well, yeah, and he's crucial to the plot.
Exactly.
He's an important character.
Yeah. Lex Luthor, very different Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I'm very curious what you feel about this.
So I think Nicholas Hoult is a great choice. I said that from the start, and I do love that he auditioned for Superman, but he got Lex Luthor, and I sent you a meme that somebody posted, which I think is so applicable. It's like that's almost the perfect way of casting Lex Luthor, is cast the guy who didn't get to play Superman.
Right, yeah.
But here's the thing, Superman. His superpower is empathy. This is something, I've said it for years, and that's the thesis of this movie. We live in an age right now where our real life Lex Luthor, aka Elon Musk, was on the Joe Rogan show just a couple months ago, and he's like, empathy is the biggest weakness in Western civilization.
Right.
Like straight up supervillain talk.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, that this is tech bro Lex Luthor, and it could not have been intentional to the extent that it feels like, because this movie was planned before a lot of what's going on right now, and yet it just speaks to something basic, which is that to go against our own innate decency, our own innate empathy, there is something twisted about that.
Yeah.
And that's what this film demonstrates so well. It's a conflict between that idea, right? Selflessness and selfishness, and that's necessary right now.
Yeah, definitely.
There, without getting into spoilers, Superman has this monologue near the film's end that just crystallizes all of that. But what does it mean to be human?
Right.
And man, that just hit me.
Yep. You're making me think, because we just speaking about Jimmy and this take on Lex, and watching Superman Returns so recently, there are some things I like about it, but just thinking about Jimmy Olsen specifically, I don't remember the actor's name. He does a good job of what you think of as the old-fashioned Jimmy Olsen.
You're right,
like a little bit G. Willikers Clark kind of guy, and that's fun, but that just doesn't really make a lot of sense in 2025. You know what I mean? Because then you're just kind of making a period film, like weirdly, right?
Yeah.
And so I think what they managed to do really well was to take all these characters into 2025 and still feel classically themselves, but also like they could live in the world I know also right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's tricky.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
I think that was the task that Gunn had, where he needed to put these characters in play. And so, we need the Daily Planet. We need all of that. And we need them to be viable characters for the future. Beck Bennett as Steve Lombard. He was great.
He doesn't get like a ton to do, but everything he does hits.
So funny. Well, why aren't there any seatbelts?
Right.
And Michaela Hoover. She was Cat Grant. We've had her on the show a couple times.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. She's a friend of James Gunn. Do we want to talk spoilers? I guess we should.
Oh,
right?
I think we should definitely.
Yeah, we got, there's some stuff I want to talk about, but yeah, let's pass the spoiler wall first.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay, so the big change in the lore that might catch some people by surprise is that Superman's parents, his Kryptonian parents, turns out they may not have had as benevolent intentions for their son as prior iterations have portrayed.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so it's a runner throughout the movie that he has this message from Jor-El, played by the way by Rocket Raccoon himself.
Yeah, that's right,
Bradley Cooper. And he, I forget who plays Lara. I thought it was Lady Gaga for a second.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah, she was on Westworld.
Yes, that's right.
Angela Serafian.
Okay, there you go. So we hear their message in Kryptonian, and the translation is, our son, and we hope we love you, and da da da. Right? They kind of boilerplate Jor-El, and we think nothing of it. And what we find out after Lex Luthor breaks into the fortress, as he tends to do in these movies, by the way,
right?
Doesn't matter what version access to the fortress is far too easy for Lex Luthor. So you got to do something about that. But they translate the corrupted portion of the message, and we find out that Jor-El and Lara said, and when you get to Earth, just conquer that shit, knock up a whole bunch of women,
yep,
and beat them into submission if you need to.
Yeah, which is pretty shocking.
It is shocking, right?
Yeah,
and certainly when we have Marlon Brando saying, they can be a good people, but they lack the light. That's why I've sent them you, my only son, and then Russell Crowe says, they will stumble, they will fall, but they will follow you into the light.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, just knock them all up.
Yeah.
It's a little different. And I will admit, initially I was like, oh my, and you kind of expect the third act reveal, like, oh, Lex Luthor faked it because he's a piece of shit, right?
I wondered that, yeah.
And instead it's like, no, this is what it is. Right?
Yeah, Mr. Terrific basically lets the audience know. He's like, no, I know people, it's legit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right away, he's like, nope. Right. And I was like, a couple of things. Number one, this is not that far removed from some other versions.
I was wondering. Okay.
So a couple of things. For example, in Smallville, throughout the series, there's a Jor-El AI that is voiced by Terrence Stamp.
Oh.
And he is so shitty to Clark that I remember when the show was airing, people were like, is that maybe like, it's not Jor-El, it's Zod, and he just thinks it's Jor-El, Huh. And it's like, no, it's just Jor-El.
In what way? What was he saying?
Like he torments him, he like brands him. Like there's all kinds of he's a pretty shitty dad. And then at the very end of the show, he's like, my son, I am proud of you. Now you are Superman. It's like, dude, you're like abusive for 10 seasons.
Interesting. Huh.
It's just an AI. Also in the Man of Steel comic, the reboot that John Byrne did, which I've talked to you about before, that series, it starts showing Krypton about to explode, and you see Jor-El, he pulls up, he tells Lara, I'm going to send him to Earth, and he shows a picture of like the human, people, and she's like, oh my God, they're awful. Look at it, they're barbaric, and he's like, no, he's going to have powers there. He'll be stronger than any of them. And she goes, oh, then maybe he'll rule them. And he just says, perhaps,
Yeah.
And that whole series, I mean, that doesn't go as far as this, but it is about ultimately Superman making the choice. He says, Krypton gave me life, but Earth is what made me who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so what I like, and admittedly it took me kind of sleeping on it, is how this version really detaches itself from the Christ parable.
Yeah.
Right. And in a sense, it's about him figuring it out for himself. And I'll tell you something, man. I will say the portrayal of the Kents.
Yes.
Initially, I didn't know what I thought of it.
I saw you post about that.
Yeah.
And so I was curious how you felt about after a second viewing.
It took me sort of like fixing my expectations, right? Because you expect like Glenn Ford or Kevin Costner, whatever, and Pruitt Taylor Vince is different.
Yeah, can you get into that a little? I have a thought too, but specifically, like, what was it that made you hesitate a little bit?
Okay,
on first viewing?
so obviously visually very different,
Sure.
but I think more like I was like they seem to be portrayed almost like bumpkins.
Okay, I had the same problem.
Right?
I was like, I know what you're trying to do, but I
Yes.
think you accidentally went a few too many degrees into like Cletus the slack-jawed yokel.
Yes, that right.
Yeah.
Now that being said, I think that the scene in the film where you've got Clark and Jonathan sitting on the bench next to each other, I'll be honest, the second time I watched it, I found myself getting teary-eyed.
Yes.
All of it, right? So Clark is like, all this time I thought I was this, and this is what and it turns out I was sent here for this. And I love what Jonathan says. He says, what you thought the message meant says more about you than what it says.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I love the bookend his relationship to them provided. You open the film where Superman is beaten up and his helper robots put on video of his Kryptonian parents, saying it soothes him to watch a video of his parents. And then, of course, you learn that they weren't exactly who he thought they were, and it's very troubling to him. And then when the movie ends, the robots repeat that line from the beginning. We're going to put on video of his parents. It soothes him. And this time, after everything we've been through, it's video of Ma and Pa Kent, the parents who raised him and gave him the tools to become the person he became. And you see them on Christmas morning, and Pa lifting, young Clark into the air. And, Superman is watching all of this with a big warm smile on his face. It made me tear up. It's just so wonderful.
I mean, so it took a second for me to adjust to this portrayal of the Kents, but the message I'm 100% on board with.
Agree with that completely. And I think the second time, knowing what it was,
yes,
it went down a little easier. I still might have, like, if I had been on set, been like, hey, maybe like move the dial just like 2 degrees this way,
Yeah.
But I guess with Ma Kent,
yes,
she's a little. I mean, by the way, I like my parents struggle with their phone. Like it's not like the fact that they don't know how to use a phone, but it's just a little like, Clark, the talking box ain't working. Like
they're kind of yelling into the phone and stuff. Yeah,
just dial that stuff a little bit back. But otherwise, everything that they're doing for Clark and for the story and everything, I really liked.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that it just makes for such an effective contrast with Lex, right? Because you realize, like, Clark is who he is because he was raised by these folks. They're just simple salt of the earth types. And Lex is such a damaged person for reasons that I hope future movies get into.
Yeah, I would like that.
Honestly, that he really has this twisted view of humanity. Did we want to talk about the Justice Gang?
Yeah, and real quick, I just want to add to the Lex thing. What I really enjoyed was, he admits that he's driven by envy.
I love that.
Which
he's
like,
yeah, no shit.
Yeah, of course. But he thinks that can drive him to great things. That can drive him to success, which is interesting. But I also thought what was interesting was, he really wants to take down Superman and make the world not trust him or metahumans anymore, and like have humanity reclaim their humanity or whatever. But what I like was at the end when he's thwarted and exposed, and then everyone hates him, a tear goes down his face.
I saw. Isn't that interesting? Yeah,
I love that because he is a human being. He's complicated.
Yeah,
it doesn't like forgive anything he's done, but he's not just a one-dimensional, monster person.
Yeah,
like you said, he comes from somewhere. And I do hope we explore that at some point. But I just love that little detail at the end. Like just the first, hint of weakness or humanity that we've seen from him the whole film. I I wanted to call that out.
No, I really clocked that the second time I saw it.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of tears, one of the moments that really hit me was when when Superman is in the Pocket Universe prison,
Mm-hmm.
and they just play Russian roulette with that poor guy.
That's pretty rough, by the way. I've seen that scene called out, and I mean, it ultimately is effective within the story, but it is pretty intense. Literally, I've always had like a weird thing with Russian roulette in films. I just find it so disturbing, and I know that's obvious, but just the whole idea that someone could point a gun at someone's head and not know what's going to happen, but just lack enough humanity to be willing to pull the trigger to see what happens. That always has just disturbed me to my core, and I was a little surprised to see that in this movie.
I mean, do you want to establish what an absolute piece of shit your bad guy is? That's a pretty good way to do it.
That's true,
right?
That is very
true.
True.
And obviously, I can't help but notice the fact that they cast a brown Muslim guy.
Sure,
or a Muslim character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a movie ultimately about this immigrant who's deemed as not belonging, right?
Right.
And what is more present tense than that?
Yeah. Right? And as hard as it was to watch, I did love that the movie ended with Clark writing a piece about him.
Yeah. But the callousness of Lex not only doing it, but then he's like, I thought that would take longer.
Yeah. Oh, it's
and again, like Superman just screams
yes
in frustration, and again you just see a tear go down his face. I mean, to me, that idea that he is just so driven to help people no matter what, and when he's not able to, that's when he's at his worst.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I mentioned to you about Kingdom Come, the miniseries. I think when we were doing our Superman Returns commentary, this to me felt so in tune with the way that character is depicted,
Mm-hmm.
which is entirely appropriate now that I think about it, because that was written by Mark Waid, who also wrote Superman Birthright, which is an origin retelling. I don't know if you've read that.
Well, it's funny. You mentioned it in Superman Returns, and when we did the commentary, and I couldn't remember if I had read it. And then lo and behold, a day or two later, it shows up at my door.
Oh, Kingdom Come?
Yeah. And I was just like, it touched me that you sent that over.
Well,
and,
I hope you enjoyed whatever you've read of it.
Yeah, I'm 3/4 through it now, but I immediately, the portrayal of Lex, there's even a moment where his secretary gets murdered.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, geez,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, and it reminded me of that moment, the Russian roulette moment. And then, of course, there's the whole, sorry, I don't mean to leap to something else, but the whole, that metahumans are a thing.
Right.
That everyone has to deal with. And in this movie, they're mostly good, but they're just not paying close attention to the collateral damage they're creating.
Right.
Whereas in Kingdom Come, they're just kind of a mixed bag and mostly like kind of disdain humans and are attacking humans willy-nilly. But I really enjoyed reading that after watching this movie and seeing the
that's so cool. Having that as context,
Oh yeah, it was great. And I really appreciated it as a gift.
Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, so Mark Waid wrote Kingdom Come. He also wrote Birthright. And so you've got like this origin story for Superman, and then you've got this latter years story of Superman.
Right.
And I think both of these works really drill down on what makes the character who he is. And I feel like there's a very strong influence being felt in this movie in terms of how he's depicted. And that was very, very long way of saying what I was trying to. But to your point, the other heroes in this movie, I was like, I don't know, are we overstuffing this thing?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. From like the trailers, you mean?
From the trailers, yeah. And just from casting, like, oh, and this person is playing this person, But I was 100% on board with, first of all, Mr. Terrific is such a great character. Like I've liked him for a long time. I remember buying his very first appearance.
Oh, really?
The late 90s, yeah. And I never would have thought we'd get like Mr. Terrific in a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he is exactly the way he is in the comics.
Really?
He's just this badass super genius.
100%.
And Eddie Cathegi, who plays him, He was in X-Men First Class
Hmm.
as Darwin, and I don't know if you remember that movie, but he's the guy. He's like the first one killed.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So his whole power is he adapts to survive. That's so whatever circumstance he finds an adaptation and survives. That's in the movie. But he's the first one to die. I'm like, man, I get it that the brother always dies first, but that was his power,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And I'm just like, man, he had to wait 14 years, but he got his just reward, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then Guy Gardner, played by Nathan Fillion. Oh my God, this is like, I'm guessing you have no idea who Guy Gardner is before seeing this movie.
No.
Yeah. So Guy Gardner's the asshole Green Lantern.
Right.
That's his whole thing. And Nathan Fillion just embodied him so perfectly.
Oh yeah, you know what I love too is if this wasn't James Gunn and he wasn't friends with Nathan Fillion and he wasn't the head of the studio, they might feel, Warner Brothers might be like, well, can you cast this hot person off of social media, or can you cast this big actor off of this movie? But instead, Gunn got to cast exactly the guy who wanted.
Yeah.
Who's perfect for it.
Who just nailed it.
Yeah.
But what I love is that obviously they have some importance in the story, and we presume that there's some pieces being put in place for whatever becomes of a Justice League down the line. But their presence in the story is important in terms of how the third act ultimately revolves around them living up to Superman's example.
Mm-hmm.
And so they show up at the end, even though it's like, hey, we shouldn't be getting involved in this stuff.
Right.
For me, the scene where you have these people from the invasion is about to happen, and Jahanpur and all these people are just chanting Superman, Superman. Man, I don't know. I love that stuff.
Oh yeah.
That kid with the flag,
Yeah.
It just totally worked for me.
Well, that's the other thing too, is like, I don't know how much older versions have really gotten into the idea of, no, really, if Superman saw a war was about to start, of course he would feel compelled to save lives, but what would that mean globally?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Now I feel like this movie did a good job of, obviously that could get really nuanced and complicated. And I think they found the perfect balance of that idea, but not making it overly, sticky or complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. It's
because Lois presses him.
Yeah.
In their interview, like, it's, of course I understand why you did it, but did you consider these things? And do you feel like this is okay? And do you need to, consult with the president first before you do such a thing? And he's just like, being the big beating heart that he is, he's like, people were going to die.
Yeah.
So I did what I had to do with the time that I had. And he stands by it.
Yeah, and that's the real tricky thing, right? Because what this film is trying to do, and presumably what future films are, they're going to try to reckon with the geopolitical impact of a world where these type of characters exist, right? And this is something we've talked about before. Like, if you try to go too realistic, then you start bumping up against just the reality that, well, a world with superheroes in it has no resemblance to our world,
right?
If you follow it down that track. So it's like, it has to be somewhat relatable, but we have to grapple with what is it like when you have characters like this. And that kind of like the whole running, background plot about people at the Pentagon. Rick Flag, played by Frank Grillo, whose character, Rick Flag, that is Rick Flag Sr., and he is the father of Rick Flag Jr., played by Joel Kinnaman, who, of course, was in the Suicide Squad films.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because if you remember, technically, the Suicide Squad is canon to this film.
Right. Yeah, because Peacemaker
shows up.
He's in this movie, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a weird one. Like, I'm curious how, because Peacemaker season 1, the finale, has the Justice League in it. Played by, we see Ezra Miller and Jason Momoa.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So it's kind of this weird tweener of a thing that's in both universes, I guess. But regardless, the events of the Suicide Squad do factor in somehow into this universe. And Frank Grillo is going to be one of these continuing characters, right? And that, like, my point is, I'm interested in seeing that storyline play out.
Yeah.
Where you see the government getting more heavy-handed. I suspect this is what leads to some kind of a Justice League,
Yeah, well, I mean, we see the Hall of Justice, right? Like straight out of the
Yeah,
cartoon. That was pretty
That's
cool.
right. Which is the actual place in Cincinnati.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a I forget what it is exactly, but it's an actual location that the Hall of Justice was modeled on.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just they shot there.
Yeah.
And if you notice, it's like under construction and stuff. So I mean,
Yes.
there's like subtle things that they're setting up for later, you know?
Right. But I did enjoyed seeing that there are other people who are helping, but they have their different personalities and attitudes, and just seeing Superman cooperating with them, but also being like, guys, come on, like, be careful. Like, that was such a great way to understand Superman even better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know what we haven't talking about yet is at the very beginning, there is a bad guy, the engineer. Is that her name?
Yes, the engineer. That's right.
Who is literally just walking nanites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was like, nanites. Why did it have to be nanites? And then, it's like, oh yeah, we did this conversion with you, so you're made of nothing but nanites, and you can turn into anything and become anything. And there's like a moment where she has like a T-1000 kind of thing where she like turns upside down and her feet become her hands and whatever. And I was like, but you know what? Credit where credit's due. And also, I do want to say, I mean, this movie does at times kind of go into like big CGI gobbledygook.
Yeah.
But
a little much in my opinion.
A little much in my opinion too. But where I will give it credit is I cared about what was happening. Mm-hmm. So even when we were in that pocket universe and there was, sort of that stream that was going into the black hole or whatever it was, it was a little loosey-goosey, and, I always call it like screensaver looking, whatever. But I cared about what was happening. So I don't always have an easy time connecting with those types of set pieces. But and even at the end a little bit, we haven't even talked about when Superman fights his clone. But that stuff gets a little bit like, just two CG figures pummeling one another. But I did always care about the outcome. And I do feel like I had this thought in my head where it was sort of like when I grew up in the 90s, I had my opinion about what rock and roll was. Rock and roll sounds like this because that's what I grew up with. And I think that happens to me with movies a little bit where I'm like, well, this is what an action movie looks like. But eventually the 2000s happened, and then there's this pop punk thing, and I'm like, well, yeah, that's okay, but it doesn't quite sound like the rock and roll that I know. Right. But you're like, but time marches on. And then eventually it gets a little bit later, and rock, in my opinion, became a little softer. And I was like, this isn't rock and roll. But like, you talk to a kid and they're like, yeah, this is rock and roll.
Right.
And so I had this moment where I was like, well, in the Superman movie, in my mind, I don't know that I would have gone into like so much of the like cosmic CGI-ness universes stuff. But like Marvel's happened, Guardians has happened, all these, like, it evolves, it changes. What rock and roll is, what movies are, they continue to change,
right,
and progress and become new things. And as long as a movie in 2025 that's a superhero film, after what we've had everything come before, that's what they feel like now.
Yeah,
that's what they are. And I think then if you can do that well, and I care, through the whole thing, then I personally would say I have to call that a success. And so I was feeling those feelings a little more strongly the first time, grappling with them a little bit.
Yeah.
Then that's why I think you and I were both saying we're glad we saw it a second time, because I was able to put all those sort of active thoughts in my mind as I was watching the first time behind me. Now I know what it is. And I watched it again, the second time, and I was like, I just love this.
Yeah.
I just love these people. I like how this movie makes me feel. I do feel like as a modern superhero movie in 2025, with some things I like and some things maybe I would have done a little differently, I'd still call it a success at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, let me just echo. Yeah. What you said is exactly my process going from screening 1 to screening 2. And that's, it's one of those things where one of my major critiques of Man of Steel has been just the super destructo third act. Mm-hmm. And so this did something in that vein, and it was a little bit like, let's just pull it back a little bit, That said, the like that the wrap up ultimately revolved around Superman expressing his humanity, right? Like it was that monologue that he has that really places his character in context, and I think you alluded to the clone. I think that, first of all, I have to say I figured out pretty early on. I was like, I'll bet you that's a Superman clone. I'm very proud of myself. I leaned over to Am and I was like, I think he's a clone of Superman. Because I was like, how did they get into the fortress?
Right.
But I was like, number one, it's clearly some version of Bizarro, right? Like, I can easily see that character returning as Bizarro.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Oh, with your group?
Yeah, with Sean and everybody, yeah.
And then also I was like, he's also like Nuclear Man.
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that.
That's also a character
from the strand of hair.
From a strand of hair, right?
Yeah.
All he needed was the nails, and that would have been Brian's favorite fantasy come to life. No, but the idea, right? Like you can create a super creature, but what makes him a hero is his humanity, right? And that's the ultimate dichotomy. And the futility with which Lex is like, just calling out the fight pattern sequences.
A1.
Exactly. I it's been interesting because I've seen a lot of folks, not be crazy about this Lex Luthor because he's like screaming and whatever. And I'm like, I like that he's very different. I like that he's different from other Lex Luthors.
Well, not composed? Is that what they don't like?
Yeah. And I'm like, well, look, Lex Luthor, unlike Superman, you have a very wide range of characterizations available. And so you can have Gene Hackman and John Shea, from Lois and Clark, and Nicholas Hoult, and they're all doing completely different versions.
Right.
But they all work for me.
Totally. Yeah. I also, just remembering things now, I like the Eve Tessmacher thing with the selfies. I was like, oh, that's fun. That's clever. Because it made sense, her being a type where, there's a monster fighting in the background and she's just taking a selfie. And I thought you could see that happening now. I would be probably, taking pictures with my phone and whatever, but then just baking that in and her seeming so sort of, dim-witted or whatever. But then it turns out she's been sort of protecting herself or building something, a way out this whole time. I thought was a fun little twist.
There's that moment when he like throws his stapler at her.
Yes.
And for me, that's like, I'm like, God, what a piece of shit this guy is.
I thought the same thing. I think it's like a pencil or something. And I remember thinking like, ow, dude. Like, that's not nice.
And then he like knocks his shit down. He's like, pick all that up.
Yeah, right.
Right. I'm like, and you realize, well, that's the mentality, right? This entitlement mentality.
Right.
I am better than you.
Yeah.
And therefore you need to, subjugate yourself to my whims. And again, you contrast that with Superman, who's like, I'm not better than anybody. I mean, come on, dude. I don't know. That just speaks to me. That's what's so intrinsic about this character,
Yep.
I have loved Superman my entire life. And I remember just a few weeks ago, literally like well before the movie came out, my daughter came into my cave where I've got all my Superman stuff. And she's like, Bob, why do you like Superman? And I said, at first I was like, oh, this moment is finally here.
Right.
Come, sweetheart, sit. But I said, because he has the power to do anything he wants, and he chooses to help people. That's why he's my favorite, because we can all do our best to help people. And this movie is a reflection of that thing I told my daughter, and that's why I love it.
That's beautiful, by the way. I love that you got to have that moment with her. I did have this moment where I thought, I've said before, my brother and I sort of joke that I'm a little more like Batman and he's a little more like Superman. And because sometimes I have an immediate reaction when someone does something wrong or hurts someone. My first thought is like, like grabbing them by the collar and holding them over a building and being like, how dare you, and being like kind of aggressive. But Superman's who I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this movie did a great job of showing a Superman I want to be like. You
I
know,
love that.
going back to what I was saying earlier, he gets irritated. He has his foibles and he behaves like a human, but when it comes down to it, he's always doing his best. And he really, really cares, and he wants everybody to come out all right. And I just found that so like rousing, and it, you know, that's a character I want to root for and watch.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll get to watch more of him.
Yeah. Well, and lastly, I know we talked about it a little bit, but I just want to say I also loved Lois and Clark in this. I thought it was a very romantic and sweet and nuanced feeling relationship. Like you can tell it's still kind of fresh. It's only been 3 months, and they have, she says something like, "I'm not good at relationships." And then at another point, she's like, "We're very different."
Yeah.
And that is true. And they've always been different in every iteration, but there's something that brings them together. And I thought this movie did a good job of highlighting those differences and making them true to themselves, but also making a compelling case for why they're drawn to one another. And I found it so sweet after that big battle at the end where she's like, "Oh, do you want to do an interview and tell me about it? Like over here, maybe away from everybody?" He's like, "Yeah, that sounds good." And they like go in the building and kiss and float. And then it's so funny when Perry to Jimmy, like, "So how long has that been going on?"
So funny.
Jimmy's like, "Oh, like 3 months." Like everybody knows.
I love that.
I love that part of it.
Yeah, and I think it's a great way to wrap things up.
Yep.
You know, I also liked we didn't mention the cameo by Supergirl at the end.
Oh yeah.
So setting up the Supergirl movie, which is coming out next summer.
I think a year from now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Millie Alcott.
Yeah. Who? Speaking of the Game of Thrones spinoff.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting portrayal of the character.
Not what I expected. I mean, when I think of Supergirl, and I got to be honest, I haven't read any of the comics, and I have not seen the film, I think from 1984 or whatever it is. But in my head, it's like, oh, well, she's just a female version of Superman. She's like,
right,
altruistic and gets the job done. But so it was very surprising to see her stumbling into the cave or the fortress drunk, and just calling Superman a bitch. Just not what I expected. So yeah. I'm curious, what is this take on her? I mean, is this from something or?
Yeah, it's based on a storyline called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of gets into her whole backstory, which is quite a bit more tragic,
Mm.
And so, we see her dealing with the hangover, and what you realize is that, she's dealing with a lot of stuff.
I like that. What I liked about it immediately was that she was different than him.
That's right.
So we're not just going to get like female Superman in 1 year and just a similar story,
right?
Where she just behaves exactly like Kal-El. Like she's got her own thing going on. She's got a very different personality, but she has the same powers. And
that's right.
I look forward to seeing someone with those powers who's very different and how they grapple.
Yeah, I agree. And I hope that this is enough of a tease to make people interested in checking that out.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't mentioned Crypto at all.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Yeah. Crypto's a good boy.
So what'd you think? I've seen more people than I expected saying they thought there's a little too much of him.
I didn't think there was too much of him. I think what they did with him worked.
I agree. I didn't feel that way at all. So
I think like you talk about something value added, like we've never gotten Crypto in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's something totally different. It sets this version apart,
Yeah.
And I thought it was very cute, that he's just this very unmanageable, lovable dog,
Yeah. Yeah. And then in the opening scene where Superman's all beaten up and he calls Crypto over for help, but Crypto's just jumping on him. He's like, ah!
Yep. I don't know. I tracked with all that.
Me too. And I love the moment also when the fortress has been raided and then Superman barges into Lex's office and is like, "Where's the dog?"
Mm-hmm.
Which and that would be enough for me to be like, oh, I love this guy. But I love then when he's talking to Lois, he's like, I got to go find that dog. Yeah. And she's like, it's just a dog. He's like, yeah, well, he's alone and he's probably scared. So
I know.
I was like, oh, I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, you know,
that was a great scene too, by the way. Where that, like, I don't know, interdimensional monster was being
in the background.
Yeah. Fought in the background, and Superman's just sitting there like, no, it's fine. It's just a little imp.
They got it.
They got it. But he's just sitting there like, bad day. Like, in that moment between him and Lois, excuse me, I think that's when they were highlighting how different they are.
Yeah.
But you also see why they're drawn to one another. And she gives him the cocoa. And there's that really funny shot where the monster fight is out of focus and he's drinking the cocoa and he's like, it's good. It's so good.
Oh, by the way, speaking of like little things that just feel very, very James Gunn-esque, when Lois is just pouring that sugar in the coffee.
Right.
And you just see Jimmy, he just keeps looking down at her, just pouring that sugar.
Yeah.
It just cracked me up, you know?
Yeah. And by the way, he really has a thing for poking people in the eyeball, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I was like, Gunn, please.
It's so funny.
I remember Suicide Squad, that big starfish with the eye. It was so gross. And then this one, when that kaiju, they're like, get him in the eye. I was like, no. So gross.
You know, in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, you know, there's that whole storyline about Rocket and his, remember, like,
yeah.
Like his animal friends and everything. And I remember, like, just when his friends get killed and it's the flashback and Rocket just screams. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what you realize is James Gunn just has a real soft spot for you know, our furry friends.
Yeah.
And so I think it's very sweet, all the little stuff in here, you know, like when Superman's lifting the kaiju and he blows that dog out from under it
because it won't go away.
Yeah, and then he rescues the squirrel and all this stuff. I'm like, no, this is just like right in line. Here's another thought, actually. I have no doubt that there is something therapeutic for James Gunn about writing a movie where a guy, a shitty person, essentially breaks into his social media history and finds a bunch of shit that, taken out of context, makes him look really bad.
I can't believe I didn't even think about that.
Right?
You're so right.
And the reason I say that, think about it. The fact that the message itself was not altered. It was just, here is what this is.
Mm-hmm.
It's this shitty person who found this questionable thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at everything James Gunn went through vis-a-vis getting canceled, you know, by Marvel and everything, the one thing he said, he's like, look, I said that stuff. I own it because it's true.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so I have no doubt in my mind that he was working some stuff out with this movie.
That's what great artists do, right? They're able to take something from their lives and translate it into something that becomes universal.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. That's really interesting. And that was kind of funny in the Pocket universe. He has all the monkeys. It's like Mr. Burns with all the monkeys and the typewriters.
Just Lex, it was the best of times. It was the blurst of times.
I know, it's like literally what's happening.
Yeah, all that stuff. And honestly, what's so great about that, all those monkeys typing, you know, stuff up on social media, is that such a great way to just view Twitter now.
It really is.
Whenever you just see this swamp of just hateful nonsense, it's like you just imagine just row upon row of monkeys with electrodes in their brains, you know?
I know. Well, you know, speaking to this specific moment in time, I mean, Elmo's X account was just hacked. And I was like, what kind of a world do we live in? This guy wants nothing more but for us to believe in ourselves and be happy. And like, yeah, I was telling my friends last night, you know, Anonymous, remember those hackers that used to kind of do things? And it seems like largely they were sort of like going after people in power and exposing things and trying to, you know, taking down the big guy, the people who seem sort of protected. But I was like, this, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. I don't even know. Like, probably case by case, I have an opinion on it. But like, who in this day and age is going into Elmo's like social media and putting hateful things on it? You know, and so like you just said, I mean, seeing these monkeys with electrodes in their heads just writing nonsense onto social media just felt very, Apton of the moment.
Yeah, it's again, I have no doubt that was very, very personal to James Gunn.
Yeah.
Anything else that we missed?
Not that I can recall.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, I've seen it twice now, and I could see easily seeing it again. I mean, I would love to see it again in theaters, big, but I certainly, when it's streaming down the line, I know this is one I'll be revisiting.
I have every expectation of watching it again in the theater within the next week. So
yeah,
still a couple of my kids haven't seen it. So
perfect.
There you go. As if I needed an excuse.
Yeah.
I think it's a great start to the new DC movie universe.
And I'm excited. I'm excited for the Green Lantern series. I think that's going to be on HBO or HBO Max or whatever. And I'm really curious about Batman.
Yes.
Like, I am so curious about James Gunn's Batman, what Batman looks like in the universe that I just saw here with Superman. Like, what is that like? Yeah,
I think that enthusiasm that you're feeling is echoed by a lot of other people, which I think puts this movie in a good position to point towards something new and interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I want to acknowledge, I know this didn't work for everybody, and I've seen that. And from people whose opinions I really, respect, and I get it, absolutely. But it was nice to see that largely it feels like people connected with this. And it's nice when a large group of people connect with something that's just so positive.
I agree fully with that. Yeah. And by the way, I want to just circle back to what we were saying at the beginning. I think the Snyder films, they still exist.
Mm-hmm.
And, that trilogy of Man of Steel and the longer cut of Batman vs. Superman and Snyder's Justice League, you know what? That's a great story that can be visited and revisited as well. And it's just as valid an interpretation of these characters as any other.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think I say this about Batman and Superman and any of these great characters. They're strong enough to withstand multiple interpretations.
Right.
And right now we're in this place with this interpretation, and I'm happy, and I look forward to seeing David Corenswet continue to fly for another 10 years or so, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
And see what happens there.
Ditto.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to leave this discussion.
Yeah, this was fun. I mean, you and I really hadn't talked about it.
Not at all. Yeah.
And I was so curious. So I was looking forward to this.
But let us know your thoughts about the movie, and let us know your thoughts on our thoughts about the movie. You can email us at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit like on our Facebook page, facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast, and message us there. As always, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review, leave a star rating. Every little bit helps. Also, do the same at Spotify. And hey, if you are listening to this show on YouTube, hit subscribe and hit like, because that stuff matters as well. We also have a Patreon page, Brian.
Yep. If you head over to patreon.com/moviefilmpodcast and hit subscribe for only $5 a month, you'll find every commentary we've ever done, and there are many of them, and every episode moving forward absolutely ad-free. Free feed will always be available, but this is our way of providing what we think is the most satisfying way to enjoy the show. So, no ads, no random interruptions. Plus, your subscription goes a long way in helping to support us and helping to sustain producing this show. So if you're interested and able, please head over to patreon.com/moviefilmpodcast and hit subscribe. We'd be very grateful.
There you go. And with that, on behalf of my partner, Brian Hall, my name is Zaki Hassan, and this has been Movie Film 322. Catch you next time. Thanks, folks.
Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about the movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? If you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. Choose from hundreds of social casino style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.